Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So today is about web design and development. My name is Urbain Bamana, and I'm going to be your host for today. So this is my name. I'm from Tech Center that's in Seco. I'm the head of the Department of Graphic and Web, where we do graphics, web design, and motion graphics. So I'm going to be your host for today, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Okay, today, I don't know if you have time. These are some of the few things that we'll be doing today. What is the internet? Because if we want to deal with anything that has to be the web design or web development, we have to know what is the internet. So we have that. We have the history of the internet. What is the web design technology? Okay, I repeated, sorry for this. What is the web? And web design versus web development? What's the difference between the two? Then we'll go to a web designer, web developer. We want to know what's the difference between the two and the skills that you may acquire, right? And some opportunities, possible opportunities to when you do the two of them. Okay, so if I may ask, what is the internet? I know we have a lot of definitions about the internet, but it's good for us to know because anything that you do, you need to know at the end of the day you'll be putting on the internet. So you need to know what is the internet. And like you can see here is what? The global system of interconnected computers networks that uses the internet protocol suite. That's what we're talking about, the TCP and IP, because your computer understands what we call the IP's address. And they use that one to communicate between networks and devices. So that's what they use. And if you want to get something on the net, you need to have those things, the computer and that one. And what is it again? Is a network of networks. That's the internet. That consists of what's private, 1, 2, public, and second, and the third one, academic, business, and government networks, or local to global scope. These are links to a broad of what array of electronic, wireless, and optical networking technology. All this, we are just defining what's the internet, because at the end of the day, if you're creating a website, you want people to see it, and they need to be connected to the internet. And that's why we are defining what is the internet. And it's good to know. You don't take it for granted, and we need to know what is the internet. And sometimes it's good to know, not sometimes, it's good to know the history of the internet. To break it down, the internet, a lot of people claim that they started the internet, but there are people who brought it out. That is a company called ARPANET. And before it was called ARPANET, before it became the internet. Why? Because the US government, they had a place called Advanced Research Project Agency. They were the people who discovered and started to use it the way they're supposed to use it. So back then in 1916, it was called ARPANET instead of the internet. And it was part of the US Department of Defense. And they were using it to send some information, what we call packets. Anything that you receive in the internet, we call a packet. Somebody will send you an email, then there's a system that grabs it and send that packet to you for you to review that email. So they were trying it by that particular time to send those packets together to communicate the signal to each other. And at that particular time, October 29, 1969, the ARPANET, which now we call internet, delivered its first message. And that's what we used to call node-to-node communication, right? From one computer to another. And the first computer was located in research lab, and another one in one of the department that they had. They have a small size houses where they were doing these kind of things. And you'll be surprised that the first message that they sent to each other when they log in was just like a word like login. But at the end of the day, it's not everything that even they got, because they were doing some researches and whatever. So in a nutshell, US government, they were the people who started to use something that we call ARPANET. And before everybody came that way, now we call it what, internet. So it was called ARPANET because the agency from the US government were the people who decided to use that. Now, it's good for us to know, if we got to know what is the internet and the history of the internet. The next thing is what? What is web design? Because yes, we have to know before you start designing your website. Web designing is just like planning and creation of a website. Yes, so you plan and you design. And this includes many elements when you are designing that. So when you come to IPMC, we teach you this element that we need for you to create, to design a website. That's what the information that you need, creating how people are going to see that, that is the interface, and having the structure of it, having the navigation, meaning the link where you click, and the layout, how nice it's going to look like, and the colors. And all these are some of the principle of design that you learn how to create a website. And these are some of the things that we teach so that you can have a good website here in IPMC. So that is what design is about, web design is about. So the people who take care of what the interface, how it's going to look like, the structure, the colors, the images that you see. So a designer is about the beauty of the site. So just like I said, what do we use? We use some of these languages that you see around there to design. So these are languages and markup languages here, right? We have the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP, and so on and so forth. And these are some of the languages that we use here to create a website. Now, we have some technologies about web design that you need to know, and it's good for us to be familiar with this. And this simply staying current, it means that you know this one to stay current with the web design. And within the growth of the web technology, you can see that we're keeping up with the latest development. And sometimes it's not good even to jump. Now, the web design is not like the way some of us used to learn it. We used to be very, very difficult, but it's not easy. We used to combine a lot of things to get to just like a web page. But now, with new technologies that are coming, it's very, very simple for new people who are learning the website now. Now, these are certain things that you need to have if you want to design a website. You need to have a browser, obviously. You can, if you have a website, if you don't have a browser, you cannot even view it. Some of us will view our site in web pages in a mobile. You need to have a browser. If you don't have a browser, you might not see any of the web pages, because only the browser that can display what we call a web page. And they mostly use our Google Chrome, Safari for Apple. We have Firefox. We have Internet Explorer that is called the Edge now. They changed now, they call it the Edge in Microsoft, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of browsers, but mostly these are some of the browsers that you see in people's computers. So talking about a web technology, one, you need to have a browser. And we have a lot of type of browser that you can use. Then, still talking about the technology, what do we have again? The next thing that you have to get, you need what we call is a markup language, that is HTML, because this is the language that you use to create, to view resources using the browser. And this is when you come to IPMC, we show you how to create this markup language to know how you can create and design your own web pages in some 4 or 3 weeks or 5 weeks to design your own website using HTML. And the third one that we have, that is going to be the CSS. CSS is just another thing that complements the HTML. That's the beauty of what? That makes how beautiful the site is going to look like. This is something that how the page is going to look like, how the colors, which font are you going to use and whatever. And we have some other languages that we call less and SAS. These are just like pre-compilers that works with CSS. And these are really, really advanced, but we use CSS here. And when you go to advanced level, you can use some of these languages that we call less and SAS. So talking about that, what I just mentioned, they were just like designing for you to make the web so nice and whatever. Yeah. Now to go further way to have functionality of a website, now you need what? Apart from being a web designer, you need to become a web developer. That's where you use languages like PHP, MySQL, JavaScript, and whatever. But before you do that, you need HTML and CSS, and probably with JavaScript. And when you are learning web design or web development, there are things that you need to start with. First of all is HTML, then you go to CSS, then you go to JavaScript, and you go to other languages like PHP, MySQL, and other languages that we have in designing and developing a website. The next thing that we still have to talk about, the fourth one, is the programming languages. That's what we had there. So the other languages allows you just to design the beauty of it, the skeleton of a website. Now you need, if you want your site to be dynamic, you need what we call the programming languages. And programming languages are ways to communicate to computers and tell them what to do. Yeah, that's why we have some of this, a lot of software. So instructors are there to let them do. Anytime you request something, what should they do to the user to see? And we have a lot of programming languages, and just like the way we have a lot of languages that we speak, English, Spanish, Chinese, and what have you. Yeah, so programming languages are a lot too, and they have their way of working. Just like the way we can say hello in what? In English. In Spanish, you say hola. In French, you say salut. Okay, I don't know in Chinese, but we are saying the same thing. So we have languages that can give you the same thing, but they have a different way of getting it. So we have those languages, programming languages. So still with the web design technology, so still with the fourth point, one is not better than one. Just like the way we said about the languages that we speak. If I say hello and I say hola, that's English and Spanish. It doesn't mean that Spanish is better than English or French or something like that. We are giving the same message, but some people find it easier. Okay, I know how to speak English, so that's the only thing that I know, or whatever. Yeah. So in a programming language, it doesn't mean that one is better than the other one. But all these programming languages, they are bare bones. Like the first thing that you have to do is HTML and CSS. There's no two ways. You cannot jump from HTML and CSS and go to other programming languages. So developers typically are just proficient of what? At a couple of, so they promote those other ones. So the one, I do a lot of programming languages, and there are some that when I want to design something, when I want to develop a website, automatically I think about them before bringing others. So let me bring some of the languages that we have there. Like I said, we have a lot of them. So I'll bring some of them so that we can see what we have. We have, like I said, when you move from HTML, then you go to CSS, the next one is JavaScript. And JavaScript is a programming language, is a scripting language at the same time. And this is used just like what we have CSS and HTML. You don't need any other thing apart from the browser. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can just use the browser to do that. Even though these days you can use what we call, you can use JavaScript at the back end. That way we use the Node.js and something and whatever here. We have like languages like Python that are used by Django framework and used in a lot of what? Mathematical calculation. Python is another programming languages. We have Ruby and Rails. We have PHP that uses by a lot of what you can use it for WordPress, Joomla, and you can even code it by yourself. Like WordPress, this is what we call the content management system. We have Java to create things like Android and whatever desktop application. So these are all programming languages that we have, and I'm happy to announce that we teach them. Those are just few of them. There are a lot of programming languages that we have. Those are just few of them that I've mentioned there, and most of them we lecture them in IPMC when you come, but you pass through with HTML and CSS first. You have to know them well before you go to another thing here. Now, you may even ask, what is a web? If you are designing everything, you are a designer now, you have to know that you are going to create whatever, something that does go to the web. So the web is just an interconnected network of computer devices and the resources commonly referred to as the World Wide Web. That's what we're talking about, the WWW, the 3 Ws. That's managed by the company called W3 Consortium. These are the people who make the web standard. These are the people who say that now we want to move to the new realms of the web. They decide what to do. They are called W3C. Yeah, these are the people who work on the web. So we'll see about that. Then the next thing we are moving, the difference between a web designer and a web developer, right? These are two main words that you hear about a designer and a developer. What do they do? One works what we call, he is about the beauty of the site. He doesn't care how the functionality, when you click on something, what should happen. No, they are the beauty. When you look at the site, is beautiful, everything is so nice, then you have to know a designer is involved. And if you have a site of somebody who's just a developer, you can tell. You don't have this, nice looking, whatever here. And their site works better, like communicate with the user. But like I said, the designer is just about the beauty, what you can see when you open a website. As for the developer, you don't see his work is always behind the scene, how that site will work. So one is it focuses on the visual structure of design, how the site look like, and any base platform, then adopting certain design principle and whatever here. And another one, like I said, is to ensure how when you, let's say you fill a form, where would the information go? And that's the use of a developer, building the internal, workings of operation of a web-based platform. So just like we have like Facebook, you are there. If you want to log in on Facebook, then you put your username and a password. Then if it's wrong, then you get a message, username or password is wrong. That's not the work for a designer. That's the work for a developer, creating a script that says like something like that. If username is called to Rebecca and password is called my boyfriend, then if this is true, then give me this page. If it's not true, then you see username or password not correct. So, and that is the work of a web developer. So they work at the back end, codes, and whatever. Yeah. But you can become the two of them. We see it in this webinar. When you become the two of them, how are you called? Because when you do when you do design, you are called web designer. When you do codings and whatever using the programming languages, you are called a web developer because you develop a lot of things at the back end. But if you do the two of them, you become one of the things. You can become the two of them. So let's see this analogy of a car. So web developers build engine of the car while the web designer focus on the chassis, how, and the colors and interior of the decoration of the car. So you need the two people, but like I say, you can become the two, right? So somebody's building the engine and the working of the thing, and another one is thinking about how beautiful the design, the outside that is going to look like. So that's how the web designer and developer who have the different they have. Notes, the individual that could design as well and develop as well, like I said, and these people, we call them full stack developers. if you become a designer at the same time and a developer, you'll be called not a web designer, not a web developer, but you become a full stack what? Developer. Okay. Are you there? Is everybody there? I'm talking. It looks like I'm talking to myself.
We are here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So if you have any question, then we ask it. So taking notes and whatever. Yeah, when we get to the end, then you can ask your questions. Okay. It looks like it's only one person is talking to me. Are other people there? Do we have perfect? Is perfect in the webinar room?
Yes, please. This is perfect.
Okay. Who else is in the room? I want to hear you. Christopher, are you there? Okay. Is Christopher around? Okay, you can unmute if you want to talk. I just want to, yes, I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. What about Shalom? Are you there? Okay. I'm believing that you are there. So let's continue. So, like I said, if you do the two, you become what we call the full stack developer, and which is a good thing. It will earn you a lot of money. These days, companies want one person that can do all.
Yeah, we are there.
Okay, you are there. Thank you. Yes. If you want to talk, you're on mute. Other than that, you will talk to yourself, no one will hear you, okay? Good. Now, let's move on. These are some of the languages. We have C++, HTML, Java, PHP, and so on and so forth. So it's good to know that. What are the skills that require to strive to this? So if you want to become well, these are some of the things that I always advise my students to know. You need to be creative, but there's one thing. It's not everybody that was born creative. Don't think that if you are not born creative, then you don't have to do that. But you can develop creativity. There's some people who are not born creative, but they look at people's creativity and they create something out of it. So you don't have to be born creative, but you can become a creative person. Then imagination. So all of us, we have some imagination here. Then you need to have knowledge about computer, because everything will happen with the computer. You won't use it in a paper. You cannot do web designing using papers. You use paper to plan how you're going to have your site, right? And good knowledge about coding languages. This is what we are going to show you how to use that. We are going to take you from the basic way of creating a website with code and with Notepad. What you need, only two things: a computer, and a computer by default comes with the software called Notepad. You don't need to buy it. It comes with your computer already. And a browser. And you can create a website, lovely website. You don't need any other thing. You have a Notepad and a browser inside your computer, you are good to go. And when you grow knowledge about some software that you can use to do that, and the technical know-how, these are something that you need to require to have it. And you can build them if you don't have it at the moment. Okay. And to end it, this is some of the things that you can become. You can, like I said, you can become a web designer only. So meaning that you can become a system designer engineer, lead front-end web developer. We can create what we call interactive design engineer. You can become, this is one thing that you can become as a web designer. As a web developer, you can be lead front-end web developer, web analysis, and you can become a web administrator. These are things that you can become. But if you have all these together, remember we say that you become what we call a full stack developer. So this is how I'm going to end my webinar, and I'm ready for any questions. So if you have any question, put your mic on, then we can ask questions. Thank you so very much. God bless you for joining this webinar. We are so excited to have you. Now, this is the time to ask question if you do have one. I'm listening. I know you have questions, so I'm waiting for that. Hello?
Hi.
No questions?
No, please.
I have more things that I didn't put in the slide and thinking that maybe you people will have a question, then I'll talk about them. If you don't have a question, it means that everything was just good. You got it well, and then we are good to go. Is that it?
Yes, please.
No questions?
No.
Okay, so thank you so very much for joining this webinar. Okay, love you guys and see you. Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Yes.